Welcome to Thrive by the Rising Muse. I am Naty.
I'm Veda,
And we are here to thrive.
Today's episode is one that hits deep. We're talking about healing the inner child.
You got one of those?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I do too. I love playing and coloring and sometimes playing with Play-Doh and stuff. I have a boy, so I don't get to play with dolls, but at least I get to.
Girl, I'm 62 and I still watch Caillou and Peppa Pig by myself.
Yeah.
Okay?
We were talking the other day. The Grinch is one of our favorite movies.
I got to go back and finish watching that today. I started this morning.
I am heartbroken that Mason's over Miss Rachel because I love Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
And I'm brokenhearted that he's over her.
Yeah. But you know, you can still watch her if you want to.
I try not to. Now, put me Monsters Inc. and Monsters University any day, and I'll watch it 10 times.
Okay.
And that, the inner child is that part of you that still remembers the pain, the rejection, the moments you felt unseen or unloved. We were just kidding around, but that's really what it is about. And even as adults, those memories can shape how we think, how we love, and how we show up in relationships.
Exactly. So many of us walk around with childhood wounds that we never acknowledged because we thought we were supposed to just get over it.
How do you do that?
But the truth is, you can't heal what you don't face.
That's true.
Amen.
And today we want to talk about what it meant to meet that younger version of yourself with compassion, with not shame, and how God's love helps restore what you lost along the way.
So if you've ever wondered why certain hurts still sting so deeply, or why you keep repeating patterns that don't serve you, stay with us. This conversation might just help you find peace with the child inside of you.
So, as always, let's start with defining things. What does it mean to have an inner child? And it's not about being childish and immature. Actually, if you're childish and immature, you probably are not capable of working through the pain of your inner child. It's the part of you that holds your earliest experiences, both with joy, but also the pain.
Yeah, it's the emotional memory bank where you learned what love felt like, what rejection felt like, what safety or fear felt like. Those lessons don't just disappear, they shape who we become.
You know, I've read that our inner child carries the parts of us that needed love and didn't get it, or needed protection and didn't have it. And that's why triggers in adulthood can feel so intense, because they awaken that younger part of us still waiting to be heard.
Yes. Psalms 34 and 18 tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in their spirit.
God doesn't shame us for the child still hurting inside. He draws closer. Healing isn't about pretending that you're fine. It's about allowing God to comfort you in the places where you hid the pain.
What did your younger self need that you didn't receive?
Safety.
Love, safety.
Yeah. Somehow in my head, I knew I was loved, but I didn't have. Actually, I didn't. That's a joke for another day. But yeah, nurture.
Well, I was nurtured by my mom's parents and so much love, so much. But I still I needed to feel safe in my home, and I needed to live without fear. And I lived with fear for a long time, even after I moved out of my childhood home and got married.
I just had my own revelation. You know how I always like things to be kind of in order?
You mean, do I know how you like things to be in order?
Yes.
Yes, I do, dear.
I think that that comes from an instability. Because you were talking about you needed something in your home. And it just dawned on me, I didn't have a home until I was 13. Because my mom had a place where she lived and it was our house. But I was bouncing from places from the age of 5 until I turned 13. I would go home on the weekends. I would go home, yeah, on the weekends or a week or two during the summer holidays. But the places where I was, I knew they were not home. I was just staying there. I think part of my need to control my environment and have stability and a little bit of predictability comes from the fact that I was bouncing all over the place. And you don't have, and I'm just thinking about that. You don't have to have an abusive uh, childhood to experience that. Think about military families that even though they're home, they're always bouncing around from place to place. You finally make some friends in school, and yep,
It's time to move
it's
again.
time to move again. You were a military spouse, so you know that. People who travel for work and are either bouncing around or not at home a lot, or their careers change constantly and they have to be moving, or people who don't plan their lives very well and have to move from one place to another because of their financial situation. There could be so many things why your childhood could be unstable.
Yes.
And safety, going back to that, well, although neglect is a form of abuse, but if you had well, for example, you had your grandparents, but they hadn't been there, scarcity and food insecurity and all that kind of stuff could happen. I remember I had someone in my life that told me that for some reason it was from childhood trauma. There could be no food in the house and she could manage. If there was no toilet paper, she would have a panic attack. I think that there was some insecurity about that in her childhood. Probably were times that they didn't have toilet paper. And with me, I like to see meat in the refrigerator. And I don't know why, because hunger was not one of my issues, but that's a mental thing for me. And I know it comes from childhood. Yeah, it's interesting the things that one remembers when we're talking about the inner child.
Definitely.
And and when we don't acknowledge our inner child, it shows up in ways we might not realize.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you overreacted to rejection or struggle with people pleasing or constantly seek validation. Sometimes that's your inner child saying, see me, don't leave me again.
That hits me because I know part of the reason my personal relationships were mess is because, and I realized that after the fact, but when I was in my healing process, it was my dad's abandonment. My dad left our home when I was 4 years old, but then he went through a phase where he was coming in and out. My mom was very, my mom, adorable woman, great woman, but she was not the touchy feely person. So I, as a 4 year old, thought that the reason my dad was leaving her or leaving us was because she was not affectionate enough. And every time he came, I would, as a 4 year old, drool over my dad. Like I put him down in the sofa, take his shoes off, take his socks. I would massage his head. I would make him a sandwich, which was the only thing I could do at that time, and bring it to him. And I would make him promise me, "You're not gonna leave me again." And within 2 weeks, he was gone. And then we went back to that cycle until he finally left for good. And it wasn't until many years later that I understood that he left not because my mom was doing anything wrong. He left because he had sin in his life and He liked to have more than one woman in his life instead of honoring his vows of marriage.
I like the way you put that very, very carefully.
Oh yes, yes, yes. We are on public, so we need to kind of clean it up a little. And yeah, it was, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time, and maybe you shut down emotionally because somewhere along the lines you learned that expressing feelings wasn't safe.
Exactly.
I had some of that too. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Yes. Did. Thankful because I know I'm delivered.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm delivered from my childhood. It took a lot of years.
Well, and I just told this story for the first time, and tears didn't come, so I know I'm delivered too.
Won't he do it? Yes,
Yes,
he
he
will.
will.
Come on now. I have had to do some things to prove to myself that I'm delivered.
Oh yeah.
And one thing that I know that I did, I spoke at my dad's funeral 4 years ago. And I asked to speak at dad's funeral. My aunt was like, "Are you sure?" "Yes, ma'am."
They were scared what you were going to say.
She was like, "Oh,
oh
what you
Lord.
gonna?" I told her I need to do this. And what I needed to do was say final words about my dad. The good qualities. Because when you're not delivered, when you're still in it and it's still hurting, you can't or refuse to see anything good about that person.
But you still didn't sugarcoat anything because I remember I was there and you said, and he lived his life his way.
On his
on
terms.
his terms. And that was your way of saying, not everything was peaches. Yeah.
And that was it. He did. He lived life on his terms. Yeah. But I also mentioned that when he came back from Vietnam, he was different. He was not the same person that they sent off. And 1 Corinthians 13:11 tells us that when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me.
And that verse doesn't mean we abandon the child. It means we grow with them. Healing is integration, not erasure. I'm never going to be able to erase those things that happened to me as a child, but I can grow from them. I can understand how triggers current behaviors or current thought patterns. I know because of that, abandonment issues have flourished in my life sometimes. And it comes from that and from other situations. But I have been able to see that. I've been able to see how situations that happened to me as a child have affected some positively, because being organized is not a bad thing.
Okay.
And some negatively in who I am today. Hey, I need to plan life. That God is the only one that might have an issue with that because He tells me, "No, I make your plans," and I'm like, "I'm okay with that, but can you let me into the calendar just to see what's in there?"
No.
I'm not asking to change anything. I'm not asking to change anything. I just want to look at it.
She'd be the one.
Need it read only.
She'd be the one at Heaven's Gate. Said, "Man, I see the manager, please."
I just need the calendar in read only. I don't need editing privileges or anything. I just want read only.
She just needs read only. Okay, can't make any changes. I just need to know what's coming.
Yes.
Faith.
I know.
Faith.
I know it's coming. It's just I need to know what's coming. I know.
That's control issues, bro.
It is. And like I said, God is the only one that's having an issue with my childhood problems. Because we battle that thing all the time and He tells me, sit down.
Yes.
And I go, okay.
Yes.
But can you let me in?
Yes. Can you let me in on what's going on?
Yeah.
Yes. We bring that little version of ourselves into safety. We tell them, You're not alone anymore.
So, when do you notice your reactions come from fear instead of truth? That's a good one.
I can tell you something that happened a few years ago. Well, about 20 years ago.
Okay.
I was a choir director at my church,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a musician and her husband. She was the pianist, and he played the guitar. And they also lived below us in our condo. So I didn't even think he had noticed. But one day he came to me and he said, "Can I ask you something?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Why is it every time I come around, you go the other way?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What?" He said, "Why is it whenever I come around, you look uncomfortable?" No, first thing he says, "Have I done something to offend you?" And I said, "No, no." He said, "Are you sure?" "Yeah." "Oh, you're fine." And then he said, "Why is it every time I come near you, you avoid me?" And when he said that, it hit me that I was avoiding him. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I was avoiding him is because he looked just like my dad. He reminded me of my dad. Mm-hmm. And I still had a lot of hurt that had not been dealt with my dad. So I had to, at that moment, tell the truth about my fear. Reaction comes from fear instead of truth. My fear was that it brought me back to my painful time in my life. And the truth is that you remind me of my dad, and I don't want to look at my dad every day. Mm-hmm. But the strangest thing happened. Mm-hmm. After we talked, no more problem.
That was a healing moment.
So that was truly a healing moment for me. But that thing was deep.
I bet it was.
Because I'm like, I ain't going to make it. I may have to stop directing this choir because I can't keep looking over there and, When I think about healing the inner child, I think about how Jesus valued children. He said in Matthew 18:3, "Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven."
And that's true because children are open, curious, they trust. And I'm working. I try to put myself in that mind frame of, like I said, parenting has taught me so much about my relationship with God, into the how I give him something and he puts it in his mouth. He don't ask what I'm giving him unless it tastes nasty. He trusts me, and I need to do the same. Becoming a parent has made me a better Christian. One, because I'm praying all the time not to lose my mind, but other because he's healing things in me. Because, like I said, I'm looking, if I see my child this way, how much more doesn't God see me that way? There's part of the Bible said, if you will not give your child a rock or a serpent or something to
when he's hungry,
how is my Father going to do that to me? So being, parenting has given me that perspective. And God loves that heart posture when you're being curious. Like I was saying not too long ago, don't be afraid of asking God questions. He can handle it better than us. Be open and trust him. Because life can harden the innocence through pain. And part of healing is learning to trust again. Not just others, but ourselves and God.
Yes, exactly. That is so powerful because I used to think that God wanted me to be perfect. But I realized that he wanted me to be honest and to bring him the brokenness, my mess, me being scared. All those parts of me, he wanted me to bring them to him. What I had to learn was my relationship with my father here on earth was not the same relationship that I had with God. And I was afraid of that because I'm like, okay, if this happened, then, you're just another father. you know?
Right. I got you.
And I started learning. I'm like, why can you be down here?
Do some things.
But he told me I was there
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought you out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you know what? God has a soft spot for our inner child. He doesn't dismiss our pain. Isaiah 61:3 says he gives a crown of beauty for ashes, joy for mourning. That's restoration, emotional and spiritual. And if we're honest with ourselves, especially you talking about you being healed and being healed and delivered from these things, we have experienced that. We have experienced that when we that the locusts that were eaten, the Lord will give it back to you tenfold. I know I'm totally killing that scripture, but it's the fact that everything that the enemy did to you in your childhood to mess you up so that you would not be the arrow in God's hands in the future when you're a child and you're being in training to be that arrow, everything that he killed in that moment, God will not only restore it, will give you joy and even better things. And once you start trusting God and giving your heart to God and healing from those places, I mean, life is not going to be perfect, but it's different.
It is different.
And it is good and it is joyful and there's hope.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, when you have blocks of cement around your head, but you know there's hope of getting out of that situation because the same God that got you out 20 times before is still the same God who is there on the throne in charge and in control. It's all good.
I think the hardest part is forgiving the people who hurt that child in us, especially when they never acknowledged it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's a whole podcast by itself. Go ahead.
There was a person who hurt me, and when I got older and I asked them, why did you do what you did? And they say, I don't know what you're talking about. I got so angry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was so angry. And the immature girl in me said, I knew I couldn't do anything to them, but I came up with this plan.
Jesus, what did you do?
I said I was going to get guys to fall in love with me, and then I was going to break their heart.
How'd that work out?
No, that backfired. Boom, boom. It backfired
Mhm.
big time. And then I know the first 10 years of our marriage, I was terrible because I was still angry and I was taking it out on my husband who hadn't done anything to me. And I've asked him in years after that, why did you stay? He said, because God told me to stay. Okay. All right. He told you it was going to get better? He said, no.
I just trusted in faith.
He just told me to stay. So it's like, stay? Okay. You would have been like, stay. Okay, can you give me 6 points?
Why I need to stay? Okay, I need to put up with this, but for how long?
Yeah.
You tell me 10 years, but at least I'll know it's for 10 years.
But I thank God for counseling. I thank God for therapy. I thank God for church wise counsel, men and women of God who poured into me and took me under their wing and taught me.
That was my biggest issue with
What was that?
because I was too young to hold anybody accountable, and she didn't. She was not the abuser. When she found out about the abuses, she didn't do anything. On the first one, she took me out of the situation, which, okay, but she never held the person accountable. I remember being in the kitchen while she was in the living room having the conversation of telling the person that I was not going to their house anymore. She didn't tell them why because he was a caretaker and I was staying there because,
They knew why.
I don't know. I don't know because I don't remember if she told her, gave her an excuse or something, but she did never raise her voice, which you knew my mom and she would raise her voice just for jokes. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't yell at this person, she didn't call the police. She just told her I was not coming back, that, thank you for your services, basically. And that hurt.
Were you there?
I was in the kitchen and my mom was in the living room, but I'm telling you, it's like 10 steps from where I am right now.
Okay, I asked that because I have a question.
Yes.
You were there.
Yes. You think my mom would not have cared if Jesus was there? My mom was my mom, and she would tell people off in front of me and Jesus. So no, she did not.
I'm just
curate
wondering if
no.
she had another is it possible she had another conversation when you weren't there?
No, it didn't happen because she and I had that talked about my feelings later on, and there were two things she said. She said, "Oh yes, I yelled at her in that conversation." And no, you didn't. I was expecting the thunder, and it didn't happen. And she finally gave in and said, "What did you want me to do?" Uh, so she admitted there was no fire and brimstone. And I had to make a choice of, first of all, I had to forgive that other crazy person, but I had to forgive my mom because a lot of the issues we had in our relationship came from the resentment that not only that time, but the second time that I was abused, she did the exact same thing. When she found out about the second time that I was abused by a caretaker who now was a relative, she just told me, she was chastising me because I didn't want to go over there. This is a person who loves you, who's your family, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I finally let her out and I said, but yeah, but this happened. She just took a breath and said, okay, you don't have to go there anymore. As far as I know, she never told. Because I know if she had told, somebody would have fussed about something or something. She never told.
Yeah.
So not hold, and I couldn't hold. I mean, I could have probably, at least that person could have go back and hold him accountable, but I was not emotionally or mentally ready for that. Now I could have been, but the person's been dead for 30 years now. But I may be exaggerating, but been dead for a long. And no, actually, I'm not exaggerating. But anyway, but she didn't. She didn't. And I didn't tell her that I was resentful for that, but I know I was. Every time I talked about problems with her, the first thing that would come to my mind to other people was she doesn't protect me. She doesn't, yeah, she doesn't keep me safe. And when I was old enough and I was already getting closer to God and I started getting some healing, at one point she was like, I've been the perfect mother for you. Hold on, let's have this conversation. And I did. And I talked to her and I said, you didn't do this and this and that. And her response was, what did you want me to do? Now, back off on that one. Thank God for a degree in psychology because before I took that answer personal, I wanted to know where that came from. Because part of the reasons why I was so resentful is because my mother was the person who would sit on the front of the television, and if she saw anybody even looking wrong at a child, she would say, if anybody touches one of my kids, I will kill him. And I would give him that same look that you just gave me, like, hello? I have some questions. So I was like, okay, the person that yells at the TV is not the same one that raised me. Something is wrong with this picture. And I decided to ask about her child. But I didn't do it like, tell me about your child. I told her, which is not a lie, she was the last person of the siblings that knew all the history of the family. And I wanted to get some of those stories written down. And I brought her a journal. She wouldn't write it. So one day I just sat and with her and I said, okay, so when were you born? Tell me what you know. And she just started talking, telling me stories, kind of like we're talking now. She went through so much abuse and nobody protected her. her own father, who she adored until the day he died. I didn't meet him, he died way before I was born. Hit my mother with chains. They went through a situation with lack of food where they would only, in her household, there were three kids. Her brother, who was the oldest, yeah, my mom was the middle child, and then the little one. They, because of the financial situation, at some point they went to live with an uncle, somebody, and they would only feed the girls. The boy was not being fed. And my mom would hide her food to feed her brother, and then she would attach herself to a goat and sustain herself from goat milk, from her the mouth to the goat. And she sustained herself that way for I don't know how long. Um, and those are the two that, we can spend the next hour in the stories that she told me. I I think in theory she would have wanted to protect me, but in another way she thought I survived it. She'll be fine.
I can't laugh at that.
You can. I mean, you know, I made it through. She'll be fine. So her spirit, that's why she yelled at the TV, because her willingness was, I will protect my children. And my mom was not one to shy away from confrontation. So that's why I was like, huh? But I think that she felt, I made it through. She'll be fine. And I was. I was. But yeah. Yes. And here's the thing about forgiveness, it doesn't mean forgetting or excusing.
Right.
It means freeing yourself for carrying what they did.
Exactly.
You can honor your pain and still release it. And that's what I did. I found out the root because that was important for me as a person who likes to know the behind the scenes. And I never understood what the people that did wrong, but I understood where she came from and kind of why she didn't act. But even if I didn't, which in some instances I didn't, I had to choose. This is my mom. I can't have this fight for the rest of my life. So I had to give her to God, and I promise you, I gave her to God like 19 times. I'm not joking. I was I was like my ex-husband. Every time going to the front and giving his life to Christ, I was giving my mom every Sunday until it finally stuck. And I was able to finally really, really let go. And our relationship improved. She didn't change, but I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
She never changed, but I did.
Yeah.
And that made a whole difference.
Yes, it makes all the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. And that does not mean that that person is excused.
Oh, no.
For what they did. It means that you allow God to heal you in that area, because you didn't know that you're going to have to end up taking care of your mom the last few years of her life.
Oh, yes, I did.
Even though she said it, but you didn't know that physically she would be down like that.
Oh, no, that's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
But, I mean, you had to.
But even then, I had the choice. I could have thought, well, you're on your own. Put you in a short nursing home, and you're on your own. So I knew, but in a way, I have to admit, I chose to, because I could have said, you're on your own. No matter how much you cry or say, no, you need to take care of me. I could tell her doodles. How many kids do that? I mean, seriously, how many kids go, no, you were this and this to me. Here's your nursing home. Don't call me, not even for the check. If you don't know where to put it under the bridge. But I didn't do that. And technically I could have. But it never occurred to me until now to say that, because it was not in my heart. By the time she had to re-move in with me, I was healed. I had already worked that out. I had forgiven her. And I had accepted the fact that part of what God wanted me to do was to take care of her until the end. And He has blessed me enormously for that.
Mm-hmm.
I did take very serious on her father and mother, and your days will be extended in
Mm-hmm.
here.
Me too.
Like I said, there's a lot of things that even when my faith was not strong,
Mm-hmm.
the little bit I knew about God
Mm-hmm.
kept me from being a fool.
That's true.
I did a lot of stupid stuff, but knowing even a little bit and knowing that I needed to forgive and knowing that I wanted my relationship with God to be all right took care of a lot of stuff.
I was blessed because when I did go to my mom to tell her what was happening to me, she didn't even hesitate. She said, I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you. And she started the divorce process, and I had to go talk to the judge. I still remember to this day the doors to the judge's chambers looked like they went all the way up to the sky.
To a child, I bet.
They were the biggest doors I had ever seen opening. And I remember going in, I remember sitting down, I remember them asking me questions, and I answered the question. And so mom was granted a divorce plus so much other things. And she was granted a divorce, but it took my mom and I were trying to heal at the same time. And that was rough. And that was hard. That was really hard. Because now that dad was out of the picture, she's raising a son and a daughter
on her own.
Totally on her own. Okay? When they say child support, some people think it's suggestion.
My mom never got child support from me either.
Never. Very little. If she did, it was very little. No,
my mom didn't get any. I know that.
But I thank God for her keeping me safe. And then when I grew up, out to myself that I was not going to live in a house with my children and they did not feel safe. And that was my goal when we were raising our children, to make sure that they were in a safe atmosphere.
And talking about healing the inner child, I am very and I know I'm a helicopter parent, and it's not just because I'm Gen X. I am super overprotective because I can see what can happen to a child in a moment, in a second, because I experienced it. And sometimes it's like, you are too all over that child. Yes, I am.
Who would tell you that, girl?
You need a mirror.
No idea what she's talking about.
But you know why? I know when you're telling me is because you're messing with me. But it's people sometimes like when we were out yesterday, the kids were like, ha ha, running around, and I'm just following my red shirt. And when he took the red jacket, I'm following my white shirt. And they're talking, I'm like, yeah, because I know what can happen in a second. And that comes from the unhealed, or not the unhealed, but from the inner child that went through some things that I don't want him to experience. Somebody who hasn't experienced those things may be more trustworthy in the environment. I'm not. So let's talk about the practical steps of healing.
Step one.
What is it?
You got to acknowledge the hurt. Name it without minimizing it. It's okay to say, that did hurt me.
Step two, reparent yourself. Give yourself the compassion and structure your younger self needed. If you need encouragement, speak it over yourself now.
That's good.
That's a big one.
That's good. That made me tingle right there.
I know.
Step three, set boundaries with people who still treat you like the wounded version you are.
Hello.
Growth sometimes means creating distance.
Makes me think of a garden. Sometimes you have to prune the dead leaves so that it can keep growing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens with relationships too. God prunes relationships out of our lives. And if God takes somebody out of your life, don't go looking for them.
Yeah, pulling them back in.
Yeah.
When I chose to forgive my abuser, I let them know I forgive you for A through Z, double A through double Z, triple A through triple Z, and half of quad.
Next time you have to do that, just use an Excel spreadsheet. They have all that.
I went through everything, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And let them know I choose to forgive you. You have not earned my forgiveness. You have not asked for my forgiveness. In fact, you pretended
Nothing happened.
nothing happened. I was crazy. Why was I asking you this? So I told them, I choose to forgive you, but you will not be joining my family for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, forgiveness doesn't mean you can bring that person back into your life.
Nope, nope, nope. And I felt freedom as I was going through that process. And it was still a hard process. Psalms 147:3 tells us that he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. And finally, step 4, reconnect with joy. Notice it didn't say reconnect with that person.
Oh, exactly.
Reconnect with joy because the Bible tells us that the joy of the Lord is our strength. Not the joy of your husband, your wife, your children. The joy of the Lord is your strength. And only God can give joy. See, we think we have joy, but it's happiness. Happiness is determined by how you feel, the atmosphere, the temperature. Is it sunny? Is it raining? Too many things to determine happiness, which can be here this second and gone the next. But when you have God's joy, no matter what's going on or what's going wrong, you still have the joy of the Lord. Do things your younger self loved. I used to draw. I loved it. Art, music, singing in the choir, laughter, play. Healing isn't just crying through the pain. It's learning to feel safe enough to enjoy life again. Yes, amen.
Amen. That's why I was telling you, I like coloring books.
Like puzzles?
I love puzzles. I when I have a chance to read a book, which is very rare,
we read everything.
Oh, we read. I'm talking for pleasure. Talking a book for pleasure. I actually, because one of the things I do like is learning, and I've been trying to learn French, and I got me a kid's book from the library the other day that it's all in French, and I thought it's gonna be easier because it's for kids. I think I've read 2 pages, and it's not for lack of understanding the book, because I don't have time to sit down and figure it out.
You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
Get the ear things they have now. That will speak in whatever language you are there.
And you're gonna read the book, a book in a different language?
What?
What are you gonna do that for?
I didn't say that. I said I'm gonna get those things that you put in your ears now, so if somebody's speaking Spanish, it translates to you to tell you what the people say.
Okay.
If somebody's speaking French, German.
I actually want to learn the language. That's fine for you.
Okay, that's you, boo. Okay, all right, I'm good.
It's such an important reminder because sometimes healing looks like you're giving yourself permission to smile again.
I like that. It is.
So, how about if we take a mindful moment together? This is something we've been doing lately with these deep emotional episodes. If you can, close your eyes. If you're driving, for the love of God, don't close your eyes.
Don't close your eyes if you're driving. Don't do that.
And take a deep breath. Picture your younger self, maybe at 4, then at 10 or 15 years old. What do you see? How do they feel? Now imagine you right now sitting beside them. Look them in their eyes and tell them you are safe now. You are loved. You didn't deserve what happened, but you will be okay.
Yes, God, if I could go back to my younger self,
Just
it's
go.
going to get better.
Yes.
It will get better. It's going to be some rough years, but you got to hang in there because you're going to get to the other side of through, okay? Going through, you're going to get to the other side of through. And it's so much better. Forgiveness is freeing. It's so freeing. And we can't always wait until that person asks for forgiveness because they a lot of times they won't.
What they never do.
A lot of times they won't. But I have another story.
Okay.
I went off to college where I graduated high school, went straight into college, still dealing with childhood hurts and stuff, and started dating this guy, and I was sexually assaulted. And I came back home from college, didn't tell my mom what happened. And she was just very disappointed. I came home after my freshman year and I said, I'll just go to school here. But I never told her until years later.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, why didn't you tell me, Mom? There was so much going on at the time. And my mom was struggling. She was a school teacher. She had about 2-3 jobs because Dad left her in debt. And my mom would be so tired sometimes she would call and say, run me some a bubble bath, please. Because all she could do was just come in. This is after teaching all day. Then she went to a night job. Then she had another job on the weekend that we went with her to clean offices. Mom said, run me some bath water. She come in, she take a hot bath, go to bed. Few hours, gotta get up, do it all over again. But I thank God for my mother. I thank God for her because she saved me. And unfortunately, a lot of kids, they don't get saved. What happens when you go to a parent and tell them that someone is hurting me and they say, no, they're not, or you're lying, or whatever?
I'm grateful for that part. She believed me and she got me out of the situation. I got, upset that she didn't do anything to hold them accountable, but she did believe me and got me out. So, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, let me tell you this about the guy. He disappeared, graduated, I guess, whatever. And I went on with my life, got married, raised my family. When was it? Last year I reached out?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Maybe 1 or 2 years ago. One day somebody said, look them up on Facebook. Never had thought about it before. And I looked them up and I saw their picture. And I wrote him a private message and told him who I was. And that reminded him of what he did in college. And I came and told you. And it wasn't even about hearing back from him. It was just getting that off of me because I never expected to hear back. A couple of days later, I got a message. And he said, I remember you. And please forgive me. I am so sorry for what I did. And I am not that same person. And he just kept, please forgive me. Because when I wrote him, I told him, I chose to forgive you. And I want to let you know that I chose to forgive you. And I don't know what was going through his mind, but I know a couple of days later, he responded to me and he apologized. So that book is closed. I put that on the shelf, And then my dad, that book was closed. I put that on the shelf. But see, I didn't finish college in my earlier
Due
years
to that situation.
because my
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't there. I went back to college later. In fact, I went back to college at 54,
2019, 2020?
2018.
I was
And
right, because you graduated 2021.
and changed my whole major because when I first went to college, it was going to be accounting and business administration.
Really,
I
math?
think I just took it with I picked this one.
Really, math?
Yeah, really. But when I went to college this time, I was more purposeful and I went into behavioral health science. Why? Because I needed to know why they did what they did to me. All of them. I needed to know. I needed to be able to understand why.
And sometimes a degree doesn't give you that answer.
It didn't give me that answer, but it gave me peace. Because when I started reading about PTSD, when I started reading, about these disorders and stuff, and I'm like, okay, 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 all right. I did not make it all right, but it gave me an understanding of why. It had nothing to do with me.
It had to do with them.
It's amazing how one of the first things that come, what did I do? I must have. No, I did not do anything wrong. Either case, not do anything wrong. But I was able to forgive. And that was the big turning point in my life. It's like when I forgave, went to college and graduated, and not to brag, I took 4 years and finished in 3 and graduated with honors.
Very humble.
Very humble. I'm very proud of myself. I really am very proud of myself. So
you have to remember that you are not whatever hurt you had anymore.
Yes, that's not my identity.
Right. But you can love the version of who you were. You can love them where they were and then love you where you are. Psalms 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That includes every version of you, even the ones still learning to heal.
Yes. Healing the inner child isn't about staying stuck in the past. It's about freeing yourself to live fully now.
It's about letting the child within you finally rest, knowing that the adult you is safe, loved, and guided by God.
If you're listening and this conversation brought up emotions, take your time. Healing isn't linear. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry.
Yes. There's healing in tears.
It's okay to rest. It's okay to take it one day at a time.
Nobody is broken beyond repair. And neither are you. You're a work in progress, and progress is holy.
Before we wrap this up, we want to remind you that if this conversation stirred something painful or something heavy in you, please reach out for support. You don't have to go through healing alone. There are resources that can help you, like the suicide prevention hotline. You can text 988 and someone will be there. Is confident, is free. They'll be there to support you. If you're international, you can find local help at Find a Helpline.
If you are in a domestic violence situation, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, or visit thehotline.org. Make sure you're in a safe place when you're doing these outreaches. And if you're online, there is a button that says escape and it will not stay in your browser.
Because we want to keep you safe. Faith and emotional healing Focus on the family counseling line 1-855-771-43 free Christian counseling sessions.
Also, Abuse and Recovery Ministry, the acronym is ARMS, and it's abuserecovery.org. We share these resources every week because your emotional, mental, and spiritual health matters to us and to God.
If this episode spoke to you, follow our journey on social media and subscribe to Thrive by the Rising Muse.
Share this episode with someone who might be on their own healing journey. We're in this together. Remember to follow us on social media. We are at the Rising Muse on all platforms.
And before I say that, the sweatshirt that I'm wearing, I like to wear t-shirts and sweatshirts that have messages to make you think. And this one says, undiagnosed, but something ain't right.
Mine just said faith.
Undiagnosed, but something ain't right. When you first see it, it may make you chuckle, but it's also going to make you think. And we want you to get the help so that you can have a safe, fulfilled life in Christ.
Absolutely.
And until next time, keep healing, keep rising,
and don't forget to thrive. Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.